From Cornwall to Birmingham and Johnston and Bexhill, here's Ruben Spire on the radio.
Okay.
Hello to Marla and Mase. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Ruben. Thank you. I am glad to be back on your show. Thank you so much for having me back.
So thank you for chatting about your daughter today. So can you tell me briefly about Lael Summer, please?
Yes, can I tell? Well, I'll give you my version of Lael will be different, obviously, than Tomas and James because I'm the mother. So she was the most amazing human being. No, I'm kidding. She was.
She was, yeah.
She was. That's actually true. But in addition to that, Lael is my daughter. Was my daughter, is my daughter, and she, yeah, was an amazing human being, kind, and also very, very talented and a great artist, which is why we're here a lot to talk to you about her um, as an artist, Lael Summer. Um, she was an incredible singer, songwriter, and she had a bunch of albums out. She unfortunately, sadly, died by suicide 7 years ago in 2017, and so she struggled with depression and eating disorder for many years, and as well as living a life with friends and things that were also positive. But that obviously, it's real, people. As I always say, it's real. Depression, it can really kill you. So anyway, I've always wanted to re-release her music, or release her music, re-release it, because more people should hear it, in my opinion, because she's amazing. And also, um, I started something called the Lael Project, which is like it's a tribute to her as a human being and her music and her legacy as an artist, but also a joining the community of people who are out here trying to just say, just to open up the conversation about, suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideations, depression, all that stuff, so that people know that they're not alone. And Lael certainly spoke a lot about it in her music. A lot of her music, showed, what she was going through. And some things were very positive and also showed what she was going through in a very empowering, inspiring way. Also with ballads that were a little bit more, you know, gut wrenching, but all just being basically sharing the story. So I share the story in my work as well as just talking about it. And we're just starting. We just kind of released the first single on December 6th. It was a cover version of Adele's Hello. And we did that. The choice was, we thought it was a great beginning, kind of like hello, like opening up the conversation, even though, and Lael mostly did originals. I mean, she did do some covers, but most of her work, she writes beautiful original music. But we just thought, once we realized that she did this song and it was done in a carpool kind of karaoke app originally, that's where she recorded it, and when you hear it though, knowing that she's not alive, it really takes on a different meaning of like, hello, I'm here, basically, I'm sorry, let's talk about it, calling from the other side, I've called you 1,000 times. So I felt like we felt, it's Tomas and James who are with me through it all, like they're the producers of Lael's records, Tomas co-writer, and my partners in True Group Records. And so we just felt that this was the first, good single to open with, just to kind of, and I hope I'm not repeating myself, Ruben, as I said this before in the last one, but just to kind of go with that. And yeah, she was super talented. She was sassy. She was funky. She was very. She liked helping people. She was a beautiful human being, and she died a month short of turning 25. And I can go on because I'm her mother, but I will let these other two fellows say something if you want to.
So it must be quite hard re-releasing your daughter's music after her death.
Yeah, I mean the hard. I always knew I wanted to do it. Right when she died, in the beginning it was like, oh, we'll do a memorial, but we didn't really do a memorial like a lot of people do because it was just too hard. Suicide, it's shocking, and I didn't, I thought at first, okay, we'll do something like a few months later, and then 7 years later, um, but it feels like the right time for many reasons. It just is, because it is the time. It's what we're doing it. And yes, it is. It's difficult. I love that we have this music and that we have the legacy of Lael's songs and videos of her, because, you know, as a parent, I have something to listen to hear. It can be very painful, but it's also fantastic at the same time, you know, because you know, this, it's when you lose someone like a child, or, well, when you lose a child, but anyone, but particularly with a child, you know, the no new memories kind of thing. It's very difficult. No new pictures and all that stuff. No new, but by doing the music, there's something about, like, you know, just letting other people hear and know about her music, and also her story, so that people can maybe be inspired, helped, empowered, and also um, just like not bringing her back alive, but we've done reimaginations of her music, so it's kind of exciting to see. Tomas and James did that, and I completely stayed out of that, and they produced it, to see what, you know, would come up with, and it's kind of exciting because it's still her. It's all hers. It's all her voice, all her vocals, all the stems. It's just some of it's, you know, reimagined, but it's like still the messages, maybe a little bit flipped around. And we also have never heard before stuff, which is exciting for me I've discovered some things I never knew. So actually, saying no new things in my research of doing Lael Project, all of a sudden I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know that we had this. So there was some new stuff that was exciting for me to see, because anything new was like, you know, I'm sorry, like, get hungry for you. So yeah, it's difficult, but it's also feels right.
You know, when if I may, yeah, when we started the musical production, reproduction, reimagination aspect of the Lael Project, James and I are sitting in the studio, and we pull up, you know, the Pro Tools files, and there are her vocal stems, the tracks, you know, and we pull it up through the speakers. And correct me if I'm wrong, James, but I mean, we knew when we had her in the studio. Ruben, you might find this amusing. Lael was that talented a vocalist. Like, it's exceptional for a young person to do anything with such gravitas, with such a maturity. You know, the old saying is like, oh, she was an old soul. You know, people say that a lot, you know, and it's not necessarily true. But we're sitting there, and it's like she's literally standing right in front of us.
Yeah, yeah. It was like Tomas, like when we originally recorded the vocals with Lael in the studio, and were working on these new reimaginations of it in the same place where we recorded her voice however many years back. And I'm standing in front of the glass, and it's like her voice is coming out of the speakers, but we can imagine that she's right there on the microphone singing. Her voice is coming through the speakers, and it's like, oh well, this sounds great. It sounds as great as it did back then, and as effortless as it did back then. She's not trying to do anything. She's just singing herself. You know what I'm saying? It sounds as good now as it did back then. It's great to work with those files again and hear them.
Yeah, it really. Once we got past the shock, like, you know, we were all very close, right? You know, and so there's a certain amount of, obviously, James and I's level of pain does not equal Marla's or members of her family, but it's still kind of large.
Yeah.
You know, and once we got over that initial, like, we remember we talked about this, James. We remembered the first time we had her in the studio.
Yeah.
I forget the song it was. It might have been Look Around or something like that, right? But she starts singing, Ruben, and it's flawless. And she's in the live room, and we're behind the glass.
Mm-hmm.
She sings the song down. I mean, it's like 92% perfect. Perfect tone, timing, nuance, everything. It's boom. And so I hit the talk back button, and I say, okay, hold on for a second, Lael. Hold on for a second. I turned to James. I said, we got to make her sing it again, just because
Yeah, right, exactly.
we can't tell her it's perfect.
We're pretty tough on singers, especially young or newer singers to begin with,
Yeah,
because there's a whole experience thing in the process, and someone comes in and gets in front of the microphone. It's like a $40,000 vintage microphone.
right.
It's almost you almost have to earn it.
Right.
But it was like, it sounded great right away. We just looked at each other. But yeah, I remember exactly what you're saying. It's like we almost have to get her to sing it again to make her feel like we're working here.
Right. Yeah. It was just
No.
okay. Whatever. And of course, she sang it again, and it was also flawless.
Oh yeah.
Then we pretty much, pretended to fix some things.
Mm.
It was just kind of like,
Yeah.
what are we dealing with here? And I mentioned to Marla, and Marla goes, I told you she could really sing. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not kidding, I mean, in the classic sense, like a great singer. I'm not going to mention any names of, some of the people who are out in the world now, and they sound nice, you know what I'm saying, but they're not necessarily great. It's when one is confronted with that thing, Ruben, and you know what I'm saying? I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to even be music. It could be literature, art, dance, any artistic expression. And you're taking someone's offering in, and you just go, it doesn't matter if you like it. It's just great. That's it's very awe-inspiring. It's I myself am not a religious man, but I am spiritual and or spirited, if you will. And it really makes you think, wow, there are forces beyond our understanding at play here, because talk about a joyful noise. You just have no idea how a person, much less a young person, right, can just deliver that. It happens. I'm not trying to compare her to this person, but I mean, you can imagine when they first heard Michael Jackson sing, little bitty Michael. He's just like can you imagine the whole family was like, what? Or Stevie Wonder. They were like, what? It's on that level. That level of just like, wow, So anyway,
So,
yeah, go on.
can you tell more about LA's debut album called Burden to Bear?
Yeah, Lael's debut album, Burden to Bear. Given the arc of her life and her sad and painful departure, and the call to action that we are exploiting her music for. I mean, that's the word, exploit. A lot of her music, it was all. She's a young woman, She's a young woman. She's coming of age, And so the songs were about stuff like this, stuff with boyfriends, stuff that's common amongst young women, how guys are so rotten, that kind of thing. Okay. But then there's the internal, very deeply personal, yet somehow, Ruben, you know how it is. It's like that's the magic of art, right? We have something that happened to us, something that happened to me, and I feel this whatever, this pain or this joy, whatever the feeling is about this one incident that happened to me. Well, through art, I can find a way to share that, and it's always so exciting to see that my experience is not so singular. There's a commonality. We all have these kinds of, the incident might be different, might be a different day, might be a different year, might be a different country, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. But our lives are really not that different, and that's the commonality that art, great art, allows us to tap into, and so the rest of these songs, I'd say it's pretty evenly split between, coming of age, young woman stuff, and this, existential, right? I mean, I guess that's the word, right? Right, guys, existential across the board about this the human struggle to be comfortable in one's own skin, you know, and that's the burden, right? That's the burden that we all bear, that she was tapping into from her own personal experience to find a way to share. We produce that in a kind of a modern vintage soul setting, a la the great Amy Winehouse, who we're all fans of. And it's an exciting time because Amy kind of, well, definitely represented a movement towards classic authenticity in music. Real drums, real horns, real singing, like a real person. You go see her and she sings the songs and it sounds like her singing the songs. It's not a lot of auto-tune. We all know what auto-tune is now. She could really sing. And so we went along those lines production-wise. And those records still sound fantastic today. So that's what we did.
So, can you tell me more about the EP, Life in Color?
Yeah, that was a also in an organic. There's that word, organic direction, a bit more contemporary in terms of its nature. It wasn't so sold out, but Lael was soulful. So whatever style she sang in was going to be soulful. I wouldn't really call it more of the same. Those songs were a bit different. Wouldn't you say, James?
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of without us really thinking about it too much. I think the way that they were written. I mean, I think it was like there was some rock stuff. I equate to maybe some. So if somebody was trying like an indie rock kind of approach to
right
to it, but still with this organic kind of band in the room feel. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of crazy, modern, not a lot of production. It's still like a band feel and it's still kind of live, feel. But there was I thought it definitely had a more contemporary sound, or maybe even in a postmodern sound. You know what I'm saying? Like more even like some things sonically on there that we were going for were experimental in a way as well. So yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, because when Lael did her records, I wasn't involved with that. Like that was she would meet with Tomas and James, and they would all do things. So I don't even know. Like it would be more like you, Tomas, and then James afterward, like having a conversation with her about like what's going on, like what's the direction of this. You know what I mean? Because so for me, it's like I'm learning because I don't know really how that process went.
Yeah.
And so all I know is in Life in Color. For me,
Well, she was in college at the time, really in college,
well,
and
I think
hanging out.
Life in Color, you might have started it while she was in college, but I think it came out when she was already graduated. But definitely from Javert, she was definitely in college.
Yeah,
and she was in USC. She went to like a kind of an elite, prestigious music school, the Thornton School of Music, part of University of Southern California's pop music program.
Yeah,
but
very very elite school. Yeah, but I just mean like she was hanging out in LA more, and so we would talk about different bands that she would see, she had seen, and we'd shoot texts back and forth, and we'd talk about all kinds. I remember she sent me a link to a live link to Coachella because she was there, right? Marla, you seen the picture of her at Coachella that time, right? Yeah, she was there, and Outkast was doing a reunion gig. And she knows how much we love Outkast, so she sent me the link to check it out. And it was funny. Everyone walked away from the stage while they were playing. It was horrible. It was just like a disaster. But she was like, "I know you love these guys, so here's the link. They go on at like 2:00 in the morning. So if you can stay up that late." I watched it. It was pretty funny, actually. They were great, but yeah. So she was more immersed in her in the youth culture of her time and where she was at. So that informed Life in Color quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell me more about the latest single called "Hello"?
Well, I started with just telling you that, they can continue, but originally it was that Lael, and then Tomas and James can talk about the production part. Like, she, used to sing on this carpool karaoke app because she one brief point she's like, I'm not gonna do music, mom, like as if like because I always thought I would be this pop artist, but I don't think I can handle it because of all the stuff. And I was like, of course, whatever. But meanwhile, she was doing all these like she was going on this. She could not sing. Singing was so important to her. Like singing was who she, was like who she was. It was since she was 2 years old, literally. She was singing and so she was like putting up these videos, like she was recording like her favorite songs of artists or whatever, on this app, and then putting them up, maybe even on Facebook, maybe not, um, and when she died, and they loved her on this app. She was like their number one artist, and when she died, and they sent me a email. They sent me a Facebook message saying, "Hey, sorry." I guess I don't know how they knew that I was connected, but they did. They're like, "We're so sorry to hear about Lael, and she was our favorite singer, and we thought you'd want all these videos." And they sent me all the videos she had done, and Hello was one of them. They're all great actually, but Hello just really struck us. So maybe, like I said, because of she sang it amazingly because it's beautiful, and also, and just when you hear it later on, like it's just like wow, just almost I don't even hear the song. At least I don't because I'm her mother. I don't even hear it as anything to do with a breakup. I'm like, what breakup song? So then we decided to do it. I was like, she's so beautiful in the video, and then I told Tomas and James I want to do that cover. We want to put it on the Lael the album of the first song, and then they're the ones, and they can tell you what they did.
Yeah, so Marla sent us the track, and with the preface that she sang this on her phone in the carpool karaoke. So it's her voice embedded with some background music, however they do it. And Tomas says, "We're going to try to use this voice. Can we extract the voice and listen to it?" And I'm like, oh, "If this is what we have, this sounds amazing. This is more great. I mean, let's see if we can separate the voice from the track and build a new music around it." So in modern audio production, we have what's called spectral editing, and you can separate, literally you can separate noises from audio files. They use it for filmmaking, and nowadays they're using it for taking mixed music and separating it into separate stems. DJs and stuff are using it. So we separated her voice. We got a clean, isolated vocal track out of this carpool karaoke file, and we just went for it. And the direction was not really decided. I think the feeling, the feeling of hearing her voice isolated, excuse me, dictated where the music went. I really can't explain how the music came about. We didn't really have any idea of what we were going to do musically, and it just kind of fell into place. Tomas, can you?
Yeah, we knew that that it had to be her own, because she's an artist unto herself. It had to be as if she was here and she wanted to cover it. What would we do? Well, the first thing we would do is wouldn't be anything like Adele's version. So how can we affect that, first of all? Secondly, the ethereal, otherworldly reality of once James separated it, and we're hearing literally the sound of her voice in the family car. It might as well have been in the studio. I mean, it was perfect. It was just crazy, Ruben. It was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I sang in the car, what would it sound like? It would sound horrible. It would sound like, oh, gee, this sounds like a guy singing in a car. It's like, you can't release that. That's not a record. But really, it was just flawless. Just the sound of it was just like, James, if I'm not mistaken, we didn't do much to it, right?
No, we didn't. I was like, this sounds amazing. It sounds like she's singing into a professional microphone. I mean, it's props to the phone that she was using, but I think it was just the serendipity of the mic, the phone was in the right place. She was the correct distance from the microphone, that kind of
Right.
thing. The car had the proper acoustics, and just the tonality of her voice, just everything just happened for the right reasons for that. So yeah,
And
it's
so
hard. It's hard to explain. There's there's sometimes we talk about there's a magic in some of the stuff that we do, and it's the reason why we press forward making music. So, and I think this is one of those instances. So.
Yeah, it's music
Well,
magic.
we waited 7 years to do this, and
Yeah.
now is the time when the technology allows
Yeah, thank goodness.
to
Yeah,
be able to pull out the
True.
stuff,
Yep.
and wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That wasn't planned that way, but that's just the way it is.
yeah. Mhm.
So nearly come to run out of time now. So can you briefly tell me more about the True Groove records, please?
True Groove Records. That's our label.
Mase is the
The genius behind it all.
engine. Yes,
Oh,
he's the engine. He's
that's
the
very kind of you, Ruben. I'm not
the
the.
front person, the
No, this
engine.
is definitely a
Making it.
three to
Combined
five.
effort.
Yeah, a 3 to 5 headed monster at many times. We basically our ethos, and if you go to our website, True Groove, what is it, Marla? True Groove.
I sent it to him. It's True Groove NYC.
NYC.
Right. On one of the pages there, you will see a little thing that we kind of wrote because after all these years, we've been around. How long? How many years? 12, 13, how many years?
Well, it's
Jesus.
like 11 years. It's longer than 11 years. We
It's
started.
like 12 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Because we've done so many interviews, and people go, well, what is global soul? Like, what is that? You get sick of people. Well, what kind of music do you play? Gee, I can't tell. What is it? It's like it's rock, it's soul, it's hip hop, it's funky, it's blues. Well, what is it? It's just like Louis Armstrong, arguably the most important artist ever in popular music, said, "There's two kinds of music, good and bad. If you can patch your foot to it, then it's good." It's just that simple.
Mm-hmm.
So we live in a time now, and I'm sad to say I'm not gonna be negative. It's a new year coming. We're also we're hopelessly hopeful. You know what I'm saying? That it's like music is the healing force of the world, man. It transcends genres, and I mean, there's a great clip of the one and only Mr. Noel Gallagher online. Noel goes on. You gotta love Noel because Noel just talks a lot of crap all the time. You can't stop him. You just gotta love him. He's just like he's out the box all the time. And this clip, I remember we watched this in the car, right? He comes on and he goes, "The world didn't want Jimi Hendrix, but they got him. And look what happened."
Yeah.
There was no focus group that you could go around and ask, "Well, what do you think of this crazy black guy breaking guitars?" It would have never happened. It would have never happened. Why would anyone want that? But it's one of the best things that's ever happened to all of us. You see?
Yeah.
And so there's something in just that idea. And I really appreciated him, for saying that now. He says it's like 6 months ago we saw this clip on Instagram. And it's not because we're older.
No.
No, it's just like that's where we reside as a label. We're trying to interest people, challenge people, hopefully enlighten if we're lucky, and most importantly, entertain.
Yeah. So thank you. Let me chat to you all today.
Ruben, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ruben. This was great.
Thanks again.
Yeah,
Great
man.
to see you.
Enjoy the
All
rest of your day.
Yep, and have a happy new year, okay?
Yep.
Mhm.
Same to you all. Okay.
All right.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.